So this is the car I'm going to be using as the base. It's a, I think it's a 94 or 93 Honda Prelude. I bought it from a scrap metal place a couple of years ago for like $150. I think it was less, I think it was like $130. And when I went to buy it, like the guy didn't know anything about it. I just said, is it manual? If it's manual, I'll buy it. And it was manual, so I got it. I was hoping it would have a H22 in it, but it ended up having not even a H23, but an F22, like single cam Accord engine, which is actually pretty rare in Australia to get these terrible engines, but they are super reliable, so I'm not too worried. It's got like 500,000 kilometers on it as well, but it should be right. As far as police car accuracy, I'm pretty sure they had the top of the line ones in Japan, like the VTEC 4-wheel steer, all that sort of stuff. This is a 2-wheel steer one, but yeah, you can't argue with the price, and I've already got reg on stuff on it. I crashed into a guardrail a while ago, which is why the bonnet's all like retarded, and you might notice it's got an R34 Skyline front bumper, which I also found at the tip and pretty much fits straight on, so I just chucked that on because it was funny. I've got a new bonnet for it sitting inside, like a brand new bonnet. It's going to need paint because like this isn't great, and I have to paint it the black and white anyway. The biggest obstacle with getting it to police car spec is probably going to be a sunroof, because the Japan ones, they seem to have had the really rare non-sunroof but still with all the other options and stuff on them model. So I'm going to have to mount the lights too all around the sunroof, so I'll have to work that out. I'm going to take my rock slider off. I got halfway through doing like a rally style full drive build with this, but the tyres I had didn't fit and I just gave up. So it's got one rock slider welded to one side, you can see it under there, and the other side doesn't have anything. And I'm going to swap the wheels for the stock wheels off my SI 5th gen. I want some 4th gen wheels, but for the moment the 5th gen ones will have to do. So looking at the pictures of the old 4th gen police cars online, the lights don't sit flat on the roof, they're sort of up on two little stands. I think that looks like about the right height. I was hoping to be able to attach them into the roof gutters. Like I thought there'd be a mount. I took this piece of trim off. I was hoping there'd be a mount in there for like a roof rack, but there's nothing in there. And that, with the height that they are at, that's actually enough room for the sunroof to still open, because on this car the sunroof comes like out and on top of the roof, because the roof's only this big, so instead of retracting into the roof it actually sticks out and comes to like here. And they do sit high enough for the sunroof to pop up, but with the mounts spaced out that far, the mounts actually stuck out like further than the lights, like at an angle out each side, and they look kind of retarded. So I've decided the best thing to do is put the mounts in the middle, like spaced where they are now, and actually drill into the sunroof to mount them. I'm not too worried. I didn't want to drill holes in the actual roof, but the sunroof on this car is kind of rusty. Like cars really don't rust in Canberra, but 4th gens are known to have a really bad sunroof rust, and yeah, the car's rust free all the way around, and the sunroof is still just falling to bits, so I don't really care about drilling holes in it. And yeah, I think it'll look a lot better. It'll be kind of funny because when I open the sunroof the lights will go back with the sunroof, but it'll probably be the best way to do it. I'm going to mount everything before the car's painted, obviously, so I'm not scratching it around on the roof on fresh paint, and we'll get all the holes and stuff drilled, and then I'll start looking at the wiring. As far as where I'm going to run the wires come out the bottom of the lights just here. So if I move the mounts in close enough for the wire to go through them, they look kind of close together. I prefer the way they look spaced out, but I'll have a play with it and see what I prefer. But for now, I'm going to start with getting the interior apart and trying to work out how to get this trim off so I can drill holes through it. Now, I just did a quick bit of reading on how to remove the sunroof, and I was expecting to have to remove the entire roof trim to get it out, but it's actually a pretty common swap to take the steel sunroof out of a 4th gen and you put the glass sunroof from a 5th gen in it, because they're the same size. And people reckon, reading through a guide on how to do that, it looks like if I just open the sunroof I can just take the trim off and then I'll be able to see where to drill the holes. The only thing is my battery is completely flat, so I can't actually open the sunroof. But because it's Honda, they bothered to include this little plug here, which you pop out, and then this tool, which is in the where'd it go? This tool, which is in the spare wheel kit, goes into this hole here, and it's a manual sunroof winder. So if you ever had like a flat battery or you got stuck somewhere or something and the sunroof was open, you can use this to open the sunroof in an emergency. So now that that's popped, I can actually see there's 2 screws in there. So try to pull those out and see if the roof wants to come off, or the lining wants to come off. That's convenient. That was a lot easier than I was expecting it to be. Wow, there's so much rust dripping through it. That's awesome. Cool. I don't feel bad in the slightest drilling holes in that, so that's good. As far as working out mounts for these, they have these like rails underneath, and these little screws sort of slide in the grooves. So that should make it pretty easy to get something that'll fit, because I've got a bit of tolerance to work with. I'm going to space them out so that the wiring goes through the mount, so you can't see a separate wire hanging down. These are 50mm tall, so I'm going to go with that for a height. Plan is to make something that will screw, like the lights will attach to the mounts, and then the mounts will screw in from underneath here, probably with like a wing nut or something, so they're not too hard to remove, because I think I'll be daily driving this car for a bit in between regos, so I'd like to be able to take the lights off if I'm driving it every day, especially through Queanbeyan, the other city I have to drive through, because the cops there are really bad. Alright, so I've decided to only use 2 of these little sliding nuts because they should be well strong enough. I just made 2 of these blocks that fit over there, and there's a nut that goes on, and the spanner or the socket fits through to do them up. What I'm going to do is for the wiring side, I'm going to have them right up next to the wire, and then another mount that's welded slightly taller and off to the side like this. I'm not going to put it straight on top because for a start I can't get to those then. And if I put it off to the side, there'll be room sort of in this empty area here for the plug to sit, and it also means this is this will be a bit longer, and there'll be 2 welded studs on that go through holes in the roof. Ideally I'd want a waterproof plug for this top bit, but I couldn't find any waterproof plugs that would take the amperage I need, so I got one of these non-waterproof ones, but this is 6-pin and I only need 4 pins, and I think the smaller I can make it the better, so let's turn this into a 4-pin. So, quick touch up on the belt sander, and it looks pretty much like it's supposed to be a 4-pin one now. Now I paid the price for my laziness before when I put pins on this, because I had to cut it shorter again to crimp this onto it. Now, I did have a crimp tool for these, but I don't know where it's gone, so I'm just going to do it like this. And if it doesn't seem like it's going to be any good, then I'll put a bit of solder through them as well. Generally you can get a pretty good crimp by carefully rolling it over with pliers. It's just very time consuming compared to having the tool to do it. There we go. Looks pretty respectable. So I gave them all a touch of solder just to be safe. I'll put them together. I'm going to put the power for the lights on the bottom and then the speaker ones on the top. I don't think it really matters, but I feel like keeping them in pairs makes more sense. So hopefully, once I've got this with the other bracket welded on, there'll be enough space in there there's going to be like a shroud that goes around it. Once that's on, there should be enough room in there for the plugs to live. Alright, so that's 2 of these mounts sort of tacked together. They look kind of shit, but they're going to have a plastic aerodynamic cover over them like what the real cars have, so I'm not really worried about what they look like. I can see now at least the height I think looks about right. I reckon bang in the middle of the sunroof, maybe back a little bit further so they're right in the middle, I think should be right. So I'll take them off now, weld studs onto the bottom of them, and then I guess we're ready to drill holes in the roof. Right, so after a bit of cutting and grinding and welding, I'm left with these 2 mounts, like mirror images of each other. I'm going to bolt them down. I'm only using 2 of these, so once I take the red cover off, the other 2 slide out the end. Right, so I've got the mounts on. I think I'm decided on a final position for it. I've moved them a fair bit forward from where I was going to put them before. The only top-down photo where you can see the roof of the car I've got is this, which is a screenshot from shorts for a VHS tape that came in the magazine in 1999. And you can see that the 4th gens, depending on which prefecture, they do different stuff, but they had numbers on the roof, so I've moved it forward to give me a bit more space to paint the numbers on. But that seems like where I'm going to have it, so I'll drill holes and then pretty much no turning back after that. I should probably get something more accurate than a paint pen to mark this with, but I've got a paint pen, so we're paint penning it. I'm just giving it one more measure for peace of mind, then I'll drill holes. Straight into the aero. There we go, big O. I want it to be like really loose, just drop in. So I guess that's permanent now. Hopefully I don't regret my choice of positioning. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the light mounts as far as structural goes. The only thing I want to do is these mounts obviously don't look very good. So the other night I drew these up, which is a little shroud, and they're 3D printed. So you can see basically they fit together and the screw goes through there and there. This side's designed for a cap head screw to recess in, and that side's threaded. And there's 2 holes in this side that line up with the hole for you to put a long Allen key through and do them up. And then obviously the mounts are offset, so they slide over there, and then they'll tighten up from the ends. What I realised afterwards though is I can actually just drop them down on top before the lights are bolted on. So what I'm going to do is glue them together permanently and then put them on before the lights go on. So they will also get a coat of like filler and a sand down, and then I'll paint them white, but that'll be done in the paint section. But for now we'll glue them together and see how well the light sits. Oh, the other thing I have to do is the wires stick out through that one, so I'll have to cut a bit of a notch in it to try and get the wiring a bit neater. Alright, so these were designed for M4 threaded screws. Is that in focus? Yeah. So these were designed for M4 threaded screws. Because I'm going to glue them, I'm just going to use some self-tappers because I don't actually have any M4s the right size. Also, I'm using a flat blade because I don't have a Phillips head small enough to fit through this hole and still engage on the screw. But like I said, it was designed to work with Allen keys, so I would have fit an Allen key through there. But she'll be right. I also always see like special glue for PLA. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work with regular super glue, so I'm just going to put regular super glue on it and then hope for the best. Cool. Oh, it's pretty good. Feels like super solid. There's a tiny bit of misalignment here, which is probably warping from like when it was printed. But once it's got like a bit of body filler and I sand it down and stuff, I reckon they look pretty original. Alright, so now that these are permanently, now that they're permanently glued together, the assembly order is going to be put this down and then add the middle in, do the bolts up and then drop it onto the car, so that's not a problem. In hindsight, what I should have done for this side is I have it set up so the mount is right next to the wiring. I should have actually cut a notch out of this and had the wire stick through it, but it's too late now because I already drilled the holes in the roof, so I can't, like, even if I move this over, it's not going to work. So what I will need to do is add a small, once this is on, I need to add a small slot out of the shroud for it to go through, and I might actually 3D print another little cover for it. So part of the reason I glued it together is because I'm going to have to cut this mount off to fit the plug in there, and then hopefully there's enough clearance for the 2 plugs to be in there, and then once I work out where that sits I can drill the hole in the roof. So start cutting into this shroud and work out how the plug's going to fit. Okay, so I've finished cutting the little slot that I need and removed that inside mount. It feels pretty solid. If it was too flimsy, I might glue a little strip in there, but it feels like it shouldn't be too flimsy. So now the fitment that we've got is that on there. The plug fits through inside. The plug fits through inside like that. And then I'll drill a hole about here for the plug that comes out of the sunroof and plugs into this one, so it should all fit underneath. I'm just going to trim this rubber off. I don't think I need to trim it, it should break off. And I might just, I'll probably print another little shroud that goes around there to hide where the wire sticks through. So probably could have been better if I thought of running it through there to start with, but this is still going to be fine and not noticeable.
Yes.
Very funny. It's looking pretty professional up on its mounts now. There is a gap at the top here, which I don't really, not too fussed about. Would have been nice to fill it in. I thought I might have had to put like a curve in this part here to follow the curve of the roof, but they sit pretty flat. I might put a rubber gasket underneath them still anyway. I didn't really anticipate the curve of the roof going like this way, so they don't quite sit. There's like a, you can see they're tilted in a little bit, but really it's fine for me. It looks so much better than the crappy RHS ones. And once they're painted, like they're sanded down and painted gloss white, I think it'll look nice. You can see the cable tucks in under there nicely, so I don't even know if it needs a shroud around it. Might still put one on there and get to the side, but you can see that one's sitting up a tiny bit off the roof because the plug, right there, the plug's sticking up, so I'll just shave a tiny bit off. It's like the bit you squeeze to get the plug to pop open, so I can shave a little bit off that, get it to sit flat. But I guess I'll mark where I've got to put the hole for the wire, which will be through the sunroof, and then I can give it a quick whoop. I have been in here playing with the wiring. I'm not going to bother doing a video for the wiring because it's literally just a head unit. You just put power to it, and then this is the wire here. I literally just poked it from the sunroof all the way down the pillar, under the dash and to there. Like, you don't need to see a video on how to put, it just takes 12 volts and then I run the 2 wires up to the thing. This is, as I said in the other video, this is technically off a fire truck, but the fire truck ones are like $20 and the police car ones are like $700. But I've got 2 leads on cheap police car ones, so if I can get my hands on one of those, I'll replace this. But for now, the Siren sounds pretty much the same. It just has a bell as well, which I don't really need. It doesn't have like a single press siren to like as the pullover sound, but given the price difference, I'm perfectly happy to have the fire truck one. It still has a megaphone and the siren, it controls the lights and everything. So on second thought, it also occurred to me that the plug points straight down. It doesn't have to have room to sit in there flat. So I could have just had the plug go straight through the foot and down without having to come out the edge of the shroud, but it should be right. I'm just going to drill a hole and then poke the plug through and then plug it in and make some whoop noises. So hopefully that lines up. This cart does still need to serve as my daily, so I'll probably be taking them off when I'm daily driving it. So I've gone with, instead of making like a nice square hole for the plug, I've just done round holes so I can just fit grommets in them when the lights aren't there and hopefully stop most of the rain from coming in. Okay, so there's the lights sitting on top now. You can see the where the cable goes through underneath, it all sits flat. And what I'm left with under here is, it's very dark. What I'm left with under here is there's the studs coming through with the cable. I've also got to add a little grommet or something. And then I've got the wire from the head unit. We can plug it in and give it a quick test. Alright, so this is, I've only got the siren hooked up at the moment, not the lights, but we'll give it a test. The lights still need some more wiring. That's a good start. Ready? Yep. It works.
Hello. Alright, so, well, wait a second, there we go. So, I think that covers it as far stuff go. Next video should be probably getting everything prepped and ready for paint. So see you in the next video.